This is where I live. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. So every now and then in these vlogs, I might make reference to where I live, and I might mention it's quite an unusual sort of a place. I might make reference to the classes that I teach because while a lot of my teaching is online, of course, the community classes that I teach are right where I live, which is very cool. And in one of the recent vlogs, I said, hey, look, if you're interested, I'll take you on a tour and show you around where I live. And let me know if you'd like that, and comment, put a comment below. And a few people said, yeah, give us a tour of where you live. So this is that's what this video is about. Because it is kind of an unusual place, and this will give you a little bit of context. It might just be interesting to you, and also just a little bit of context when I might make comments about it in the future. So pretty soon I'm going to turn this camera around and I'm going to start showing you around. But before then, just a little bit of a preface to help you understand what it is you're going to be looking at and why it's a bit unusual. Because the place I live, it's kind of a retreat center, and you notice I say kind of. So it does have rooms where people can come and stay. They can book for a night, 2 nights, a week, longer, whatever they like. And there are sometimes people who, book a whole lot of space and specifically for a retreat for a period of time, and they run, an event here. As well as that, there's a whole bunch of teaching spaces, which are pretty nice. They're nice teaching spaces. And then also it's surrounded by bush, by forest, which is really nice and quite unusual for where we are, because it's right on the edge of Auckland City, which is a reasonably busy sort of a city. When I say right on the edge, it's right on the edge of where the city used to be. The city goes a lot further now. And so really unusual to be this close to the city, but to have all of this nature around you. There's a river that runs around it. All these things. There's other sort of retreat type facilities, swimming pool, things like that, which I'll show you soon. But then the other side of that makes it a bit unusual is there's also a whole lot of people who just live here, myself included. And in fact, I've lived here several times, where I've come and I've lived for, however long, and then I've gone away and I've come back, and then I've gone away and come back. And there's different numbers of people living here at different times, depending on what's going on with some of the facilities and things like that. The first time I lived here, I think there were about 90 people living here, aside from other people because there are also people who work as volunteers helping to take care of the grounds, take care of the facilities. So yeah, when I was first here, there were about 90 residents living here and about 30 or 40 volunteers. And then on top of that, there were also people coming and staying short term, and again, sometimes just as a place to stay, not necessarily really using it as a retreat, other people using it, as a retreat, all the teaching facilities, all of that sort of thing. And the people living here have all sorts of different reasons of why they might live here. Some people are just living here because it's in the area and it's convenient, and they go to their job wherever it is, and have different motivations for being here. And so it's a really unusual mix of a place and a community. So I'm going to show you around that and talk about that a little bit as I go. So I'm actually going to start out here. So outside the premises of where I live, just to give you an idea of the immediate environment. You're not really going to see it too well, but just get a little bit of an idea. This building straight ahead is a big commercial building, and you can see some other smaller ones in the distance. Those are apartment blocks, and then there's some other small commercial buildings, and these cars you can see going past, well, that's a fairly busy road. It's not so busy right now, but at certain times of the day it's absolutely jam-packed, because it runs just a few hundred meters away to a motorway or freeway, depending where you're from, on-ramp. So it's like right here, right connected to a busy part of the city. And right here there's a big public car park, and then I'm not going to spend too much time down here. I'll maybe cut between a few different things, but just a bit further ahead, I'll see if I can take not too long to get here. There's like a basketball court. You can maybe see that appearing in the distance, where, you know, it's just a public facility that people come and play basketball. There's like a little kids playground, and then we're just getting, I'll have a look through here, I'll just peer over here. There is a skate park for people to come and skateboard and do all that sort of thing. So this is the immediate environment before we enter the premises of where I live. So as we come out of that public car park and we come down this little end of a road, it starts to look a bit less like a normal road at this point. Oh, just as a side note, there's also some lovely little pathways that walk alongside the bush, going in either direction here, because we're heading towards, you can see there's like trees all around. There's power lines and things like that too, but there's trees all around. So there's some public pathways to either side, but we go straight ahead and there's this little bridge, kind of an old wooden bridge. And when we cross that bridge, we are now officially at Kawaipurapura. And as you can see, it's a pretty old faded sign, but it says Private Retreat Centre, because it's now private property as we head up here. It's a beautiful tree-lined, bush-lined driveway. Lovely dappled light and shade as we sort of enter into being surrounded by the bush on this property. As I said, I'm going to cut between shots a little bit here because otherwise it'll take way too long for this video. But a lovely little driveway up here at the end where the light is. That's where we start to come into the facilities proper. So as we come to the top of the driveway, we have this lovely carved sign again telling us we are at Kawaipurapura. There's also some old, quite faded signs trying to point you in directions of different things. So I'm going to pause here for a moment again, and again just say, so I'm going to show you around mainly the sort of, I guess, public facing areas of the property, because there are a lot of people who just live here and essentially they have their private spaces. Well, again, interesting mix because it's private / shared spaces, shared with other people living here, which I'll explain a little bit about, but I won't go too much into those areas. It'll be more the places that people just visiting would go to, unless of course you're visiting someone who's living here, in which case you might go into those more private areas. So, but I'll show you enough to give you a general idea of the place. So as we come around this way to the left of the sign, these first buildings here, there is, well, straight ahead, that's a big shared bathroom facility where there are toilets, showers, hand basins, that sort of thing. And basically lots of people share those. People who live here, people who are visiting here temporarily. That's not the only block of bathrooms, there's several around the place. But yeah, interesting having those shared bathroom facilities. And then in this building, we come into the reception. Oh look, the reception's even waving at us. Who wants to say hello? Oh, there we go. Beautiful.
Hello, welcome to my channel.
Hello, so would you like to book a room? Or something better?
So yeah, so you can see they're involved with helping run the place. And both of these people have come here as volunteers, but then got a bit more involved with stuff.
You know, they find out that you are better than volunteers, so...
Very good. Okay, we'll continue on. So in this building as well, there's offices that go upstairs. It's a 2-story building. And if we come through this way, there is a big kitchen facility and then a big dining area with some casual seating over the side. And this is primarily used for retreats. It's not used by the residents as a regular kitchen. So for retreats and sometimes for community events where everyone comes together. And to the left here, there is, well, the first of the teaching facilities we'll look at. It's just a little small one, but quite cozy, quite comfortable. It's got the things you'd want in a teaching facility. Well, a small one, there's a projector and a sound system, and they've got some chairs and that sort of thing if you need them. Yeah, just yeah, the smallest of the teaching facilities. Carrying on, we'll head out here. Coming out, there's a lovely deck where you can sit, enjoy the sun, and enjoy the view out onto some of the property. Okay, carrying on down off the deck, and we could have got this way as well if we went to the right of that building at the top of the driveway instead of to the left. We're now heading to the pool enclosure. You can see it's all pretty old and rustic, but surrounded by beautiful plants, beautiful nature. Here we go. That's a wave from another volunteer. Plenty of them wandering around the place. At the moment, there's lots of free parking. These are car parks in front of us. Often these are completely full. But yeah, it's kind of interesting time of year, end of year. So it's both kind of busy with lots of things happening and quiet at the same time because people are so busy with other things. All right, we're going to go into the pool. Here we go. So this is the big pool area. Again, there's trees and stuff around it. It's a beautiful pool. It's just passively heated by the sun. So in summer, when there's sometimes lots of sunshine, it gets really quite warm. In winter, not so much. And it's in terms of treating the water, they use copper sulfate. So if someone puts a bit too much copper sulfate in, it tends to turn people's hair green, which is an interesting feature of the place. But yeah, beautiful pool. It's a nice place. People obviously swim in it, but it's also a nice place just to sit. You can see there's tables around and, just have the flowing water moving beside you and, enjoy some outdoor space. There's a sauna in here, an infrared sauna, and then there's a spa pool in here. Around here there are some toilet facilities, as you'd expect. Next to a pool, you need those. All right, we'll carry on. We're going to go through this gate out of the pool enclosure. And coming down some stairs, again surrounded by trees, surrounded by plants. There's another car park behind the pool. This one is just used by residents, people who live here. And out onto a lovely big green open space, which doesn't get used much in winter because it tends to get pretty wet here in winter, but in summer is a lovely place for people to come out and do things. And ahead of us, well, I'll show you that in a moment. Ahead of us there is this circle of stones with, you can see someone has set this up for a fire, and we use this as a fire circle from time to time. Sometimes just as a community, people living here, other times when there are events on. And because over to the side here there is a big marquee. Now this again, it's primarily used when there's big events. When there's festivals, this will be used as an outdoor stage, but it has cover, of course. And then there'll be other things. Sometimes there'll be other tents and marquees set up through this space. And so lots of things will be going on here: music, stalls, people selling things, maybe people teaching things, as well as using the other indoor facilities as well. And in fact, when the weather's really nice in summer, I often move my Qigong classes from one of the other facilities out here, because here we have the option of, if it starts to rain or something, we have cover, but we can also spill out outdoors when the weather's good as well, and that is really nice. So here we're really close to the edge of the bush again. I think I'll show you inside that area a bit later, because I want to show you around the rest of the site first. So coming through another car park beside that big field, beside that marquee, we've got a couple of options here. I'll show you just briefly around the corner, because this is part of the site that isn't functioning fully at the moment, but it used to be a naturopathic college. And yeah, I won't go too far in here, but there's quite a lot of space in these facilities, teaching rooms. They had a library, bathrooms, clinic rooms, all sorts of things. There's more there than it probably appears from the surface. But yeah, the naturopathic college has moved out, and so waiting to see what's going to happen there soon. I think a large clinic might be taking it over. But we have this other building, which is another teaching space. And so I'll show you just a little bit outside it, and then we'll go inside it. Oh, there's some more community bathrooms there, showers, toilets, so on. It's a cool old building. Essentially, it was an old barn. an old wooden barn, but with a little bit of character, a bit of flair with these stained glass windows. And now it's used as a teaching facility. So I'll show you inside. All right, so heading inside here, you can probably hear there's a lot more echo now. Yeah, it's still got a bit of a character of that old wooden barn, but with these cool little stained glass window features, wooden floors. Again, it's got a projector, it's got a whiteboard, and around the corner here, it's got a little kitchen. So if you're running a workshop or retreat or event, you can be quite self-contained here for refreshments and everything that you need. And again, there are bathrooms just out the back of this building as well. Continuing past this building, now there's places that people live tucked in all over the site here. So in here, there's actually 2 different spaces that people live in. These ones, they actually have their own kitchens. Most places, people share kitchens, share bathrooms. A few of the residential areas, people have their own kitchens, own bathrooms. This building to the left, we can see there's a bit of gardening being done. This is the upstairs of that naturopathic college area, which I mentioned before. Again, not being used at the moment. But we'll walk past here, because if we go past, there is another teaching venue. And hopefully this tour won't be too confusing, but you'll get an idea. For people who first turn up on the site, it can be really confusing because there's so much and things tucked away in different corners. It's really often hard for people to find what they're looking for. So this teaching venue is called Shanti. And let's see, we'll come around the corner here. Yeah, the pathway is not in the best condition here. But there's another way you can come on another path down through the bush. And it's in the top of this old, let's see if I can get back a bit further. So it's an old half-round barn building. So downstairs, it's all offices and things like that were part of the naturopathic college. And in here, we'll just look through the window. Again, it's quite a nice sort of a teaching space. There's a fireplace in the corner. Again, I don't think I can show you right now. There's toilets in here. There's a little kitchen area as well. Yeah, so pretty cool. And the acoustics in there are pretty good, actually, in terms of venues. So if you're wanting something where you're wanting a bit better sound, that is a good choice. Okay, so this is another part of the outside of the pool enclosure with some cool little decorations. Hopefully give people some positive inspiration with some positive words and nice bright colors. We'll walk around this way. As I mentioned before, unfortunately, well, maybe it's not unfortunately, the nature of this place is to show you around at least somewhat fully. It does mean I'm going to have to loop back on myself sometimes because, yeah, it's the way everything's laid out. There's not one straight path through it. There's things off to one side and another side and, you know, hidden around different nooks and crannies. So we're going to come back through this car park, which was behind the pool. And we're just going to see as we come through there, you can see in the distance, it was another old barn, another old wooden barn. So I think I'll keep the camera on for now and we'll find our way through this bush to show you a wide view of this barn. Oh, this is that big grassy area again. And here we go. This is a big old barn. Looks like these chairs and blankets outside, someone must be cleaning something. But yeah, so the downstairs area on the left, which I'll show you soon, this area here, that's another teaching space. And then upstairs, this is accommodation where people live. And then over on the right, let's see, where's my finger gone? Ooh, there it is, in there. There's a kitchen and lounge area, and there's another bathroom in there for the people using that residential space. So I'm not going to show you the residential space inside, but I will show you this teaching space. You know, actually, I can probably just show you through the window. I was going to go through the door, but just through the window is probably going to be good enough. Here we go. If there's not too much glare. Oh, there's too much glare. I'll show you from another angle. So this is the inside of this teaching venue. And again, it's got a fireplace in the corner. Very nice in winter. There's a projector, a screen. There's a little place for refreshments. They have, chairs if you need those. yoga bolsters and mats and all those sorts of things, blocks, things that you might need depending on the type of class that you might teach. Okay, coming around the corner of this building, I'll just show you something else. Something that is all over the property. As I mentioned, there's residential or accommodation area upstairs that's through this little door here. But there's also these little cabins. And I'm not sure if I might show you a few others of these, but these are spotted all over the property, and there are people living in those too. There's another toilet and shower and laundry facilities, and very important, you've noticed a few fireplaces here, a woodshed. Okay, heading around to this side now. We're going to go across another bridge. There's a few bridges around the property because there is this river, or it's not much of a river, it's a little bit of a stream that runs through the property, and I have shown you this in some of the previous vlogs, but yeah, this is part of the tour, so I'll show it to you again. Going to continue up this driveway on the other side of the river, stream, I don't know, you can probably call it either one. Oh, a little set of stairs up through the bush. You can see it says private residence. There's more of those little cabins, well, different shaped cabins and things like that in different places, so there's several up in that area as well. Again, little nooks and crannies. If you haven't been around the place, very hard to find your way around to begin with. But the reason I'm mainly bringing you up here, probably two things actually. The main one is, you can see through here, behind that bush, there's another building, and this is another teaching venue. And another little nook, another little cranny. This one is called Yoga Shala. Someone's opening up right now. We might just follow her in so I can show you a little bit of the inside. And this is most commonly where I teach my community classes. So this one doesn't have the kitchen facilities or anything like that. Again, it's a half round building, nice wooden floor. It's got different props, yoga mats, all that sort of thing in here. So the other thing I'll show you, so again, we've got some other little unusual buildings here. You can see in the distance there are some caravans, and we'll come up further up this driveway. It's getting pretty steep. Yeah, not that good condition, this driveway. Not a good idea to come up here if you don't have four-wheel drive, particularly if it's been raining. But I'll show you two things up here. So one is, well, maybe three things actually. So one is, there's more little cabins. These ones are really just used by the volunteers who live here. And then there's also, pretty overgrown right now, but these are community gardens where people, if they want to, they can have a patch of land and grow themselves some vegetables if they want to take care of it themselves. And then here's the third thing over here. There are some chickens that wander around the property and have a lot of fun in those vegetable gardens. Okay, so continuing on with our tour, we've come out of that little side path where we were on. We are back to, if you look over here, that was the area which had the big dining area and kitchen and reception in there, and there's a nice green space out there. Oh, actually, I'll step onto here for a moment to show you a few more things. So these areas over here, straight ahead and then around to the right, are used for temporary accommodation. People who are here just overnight or for a retreat. The upstairs of this building is residents, people who are here long term, but downstairs on both sides of the building is temporary accommodation. All right, so we're going to continue on and around this way. Again, I will cut these shots a little bit because I don't want to make this too long. But you see there's another bridge for us to go across as we enter another part of the property. So as we continue up this way, we've got some more car parking. Again, there's all sorts of things tucked in different places around the property. There's not just one car park, there's a bunch of car parks in different areas. And this building here, which is to our left, this is another residential area. There's a bunch of other residential areas that, as I mentioned, I'm not going to show you, but you get an idea. They're sort of tucked in everywhere. They're different styles of building. This one's concrete block. There's other ones made of weatherboard, other ones little cabins, all sorts of things. And we continue up this lovely tree and bush lined driveway, and as we go a little bit further we come to this space here, and here's a sign even, the Glade, and there it is straight ahead of us through another lovely little path. So as we come into the Glade, this nice little grassy clearing, if you've been watching the vlog for a while, you're probably going to recognize a few things here, because it's often, not always, a convenient place for me to be outdoors in nature and record these vlogs. So you've probably seen these little benches with the Maori carvings in them. There's one on this side, there's another one on this side, and then, oh, someone's moved these wooden rounds out of the way. They were in a circle, but another little space here that you can sit and, you know, enjoy nature, relax. People often use this for their own private, maybe they want to do some yoga or qigong or meditation, and most of the time, well, there's no one here, or if you come there might just be one other person here, and so it's a nice private peaceful place that you can do some practice in, or do something like record a vlog. Oh, before we leave here, I'll just say, so as you can see, we're surrounded by bush, and there's different places that you can access it, and so this is one of them. There's a couple of little spots off, and you wouldn't know unless you look closely, but there's little spots where there's like a little opening off the side, and if you go through, you are onto a little path that goes into the bush. So the paths aren't in great condition after all the floods earlier this year, and so I'm not going to show you too much here. I'll show you another area of the bush. All right, so another little bridge for us to cross here, a bit different from the other ones. This one's just a walkway, and it's got a little roof over it, because this is right in amongst a bunch of the buildings, from some of the residential areas through to some of the retreat accommodation areas. And then also, we're not going to go inside here, but this is one of the shared kitchens for residents, for people who live here. And then again, I'll show you just a little bit more of this area. As I come around the corner, there are some more gardens, and some of them are better maintained than others, where people can grow, like there's some strawberry plants here. Well, it's probably too small to see on the camera, but there are some strawberries there. There's some lettuce, some other things, and then over there, back along here, oh, where's my finger? Back along here, there's some more edible plants. There's lots of rosemary always, there's mint. Sometimes there's other things growing here. So that's a community garden that people share as well. All right, so that is going to be the end or the last part of the tour, I think, around the built up areas, around all the buildings and things like that. I think I've shown you all the indoor teaching areas and, you know, how some of the parts of the place fit together. There's a lot more different residential areas. And again, I'm not going to go too much into those because those are kind of people's private spaces. I won't go into the shared kitchens or anything like that. But I will show you a bit more of some of the bush here. So the total size of the site is 19 acres. So there's quite a few tracks that run through the bush. And yeah, I'll show you just a few little bits of that. So as we continue past this marquee, there's a waste management area. Not the prettiest site, but it's something that's necessary. But anyway, this is where you find a pathway where we're going to cross the river again. And unfortunately, this is one of the few remaining footbridges at the moment. Hopefully the others will be able to be put back in place soon. You can see one of them is just sitting here beside the river rather than crossing the river, because they all got washed away in the floods. This one has been put back into position, but the other ones aren't yet. So we'll use this as our access into some more of the bush to have a look around. And I'll show you, to begin with, another little quirky feature. So in here, and this is featured in quite a few of the vlogs too, there's an old abandoned tennis court. Now this is actually not part of the property. This is owned by the city council, and it's a bit of a mystery because it doesn't have any walkways or anything that currently link to it, or roads, and it's like, well, how did that I don't know, how did they use this in the past? What has changed? But yeah, an old abandoned tennis court, still got fences around it which are overgrown with bush. There's a few things that people have put in place, so people come in and they skateboard and they graffiti and that sort of thing, so it's got a bit of character. But interesting little spot. So that's just to the side before we carry into the rest of the bush, which is part of the property. So we're going to walk along this path for a little while. It's just a little path that runs beside this little river slash stream again. So yeah, I'm just showing you some of this footage, some of this walking, so you get an idea of it. But I will cut to our next shot so it doesn't take us too long. One of the cool little features in this section of the bush, and this is something again you'll recognize from some of the vlogs, you've seen me sitting on this bench, is this little rock face, which is again, most of it's overgrown with plants, and you can see there's some moisture running down here. When it rains more, there's more water coming down. But because it's nice and damp and shady, glowworms live here. Now I would show you those in a vlog, and they're pretty cool at night, little dots of light, but they're not bright enough that they'd show up particularly well on a camera or for a video. I could do like a slow exposure for a still photo, but yeah, not for a video recording. So yeah, that's a cool little feature here. I'll show you something else just a bit further along. So the bush, the forest, depending on what terminology you're most familiar with, it's quite old, it's well established. A variety of quite typical New Zealand plants and trees. Some of the trees are quite large, quite mature. Some of them more so than others, of course. So one of the ones just ahead is one of the more notable ones on the property. I think, oh, we've got a little bit further to go. Oh, here we go. Here's another one of those footbridges that got washed away, hasn't been put back into position yet. Hopefully that will happen before too long, because it makes it easier to get in and out and access this lovely bush. Here we go. The camera's not making it look as big as it really is. This is a big old mature tree. Big old mature. It's a white pine, a kahikatea is the name in Maori, which is, yeah, a nice old tree in this part of the forest. So next we are going to head up the hill, and this is going to take quite a while. So I'm not going to show you too much of this track, because, well, I could talk about other things, but yeah, there's quite a bit of walking to where I'm going next. But I'll show you when we get right to the top of the hill. There's a nice little spot, and you'll see why I've taken you there then. Okay, so when we get to the top of the hill, again, there's a big old pine tree, and we have a bit of a view. So down there immediately in front of us, you can see, where's my finger? The pool, some of the teaching facilities, that's reception over there, some of the accommodation areas up here, and then you can see just outside, there's a big commercial area, apartments, and then it flows into suburbs, and just off to the side, there's the motorway as well. Okay, so this is going to be the proper end of the tour. I wanted to show you at least a little bit of the bush. As I mentioned, so it's 19 acres in total, so there are quite a few trails. You can spend quite a bit of time exploring those trails, walking through the bush. They're not in great condition at the moment, just damaged over the years, and particularly with the floods. Hopefully some of those will be maintained a bit soon. Yeah, but an unusual place. So many beautiful things here with the bush, some of the facilities, you know, the teaching facilities makes it really easy, really convenient to run classes, run events. I think you've heard me talk about ecstatic dance in some of these vlogs. So yeah, I teach community Qigong classes here. I also run ecstatic dances in some of the venues. I've run them in 3 of the different venues at this point, at different times. And yeah, an unusual mix of residents and shared facilities and volunteers who are constantly coming and going, and people who come here and stay for short periods of time for retreats, and people running workshops, all sorts of things going on here. As I mentioned, you probably noticed me mentioning several times like, that, you know, bit of a rundown old sign, bit of a rundown old this. A lot of the facilities you would describe as rustic, perhaps, needing a bit of maintenance, but then some of them are really nicely maintained as well. So really interesting mix. Good things and also a fair bit of chaos. So yeah, that gives you a little bit of an understanding of the place. There was something else I was going to say. What was that? I think I'll finish with just one more shot of this beautiful view. So this is where I've been living for the last 2 years. And as I said, it's somewhere I've come back to multiple times. There's a lot of things that's convenient about it. It offers a really unique mix of benefits amongst that chaos. Don't know how much longer I'm going to be here in the short term. I do have plans to be traveling more, teaching more around the world, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully this has been an interesting tour for you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on another vlog soon. Oh, that's one thing I'll add as just a little bit of a postscript here. It's probably fitting that to some extent this vlog is a bit disjointed with a little bit of an add-on here and there. It's kind of the nature of this place. It's such an unusual mix of different things all together. But it is so unique, and the dynamics between people here are really unique. And as part of that, like myself, it's very common for people to live here in some capacity, go away, come back, go away, come back. And it has this way of pulling people back in, because there's some things that, yeah, just so unique, and at a certain time it'll suit you, and then at another time it won't. It'll be time for something else. It's quite common as well, like when you saw a couple of the volunteers waving hello. At some point in the vlog, that, you know, sometimes people who live here full time as a resident then decide, oh, actually I'll be a volunteer. Sometimes volunteers go, oh, actually I'll become a resident and live here full time. Sometimes people who come here as a retreat guest or just staying here temporarily, you know, they might plan to stay here for a few nights. Then they end up staying here for longer. Then they decide, oh, actually, I'll become a resident, or maybe I'll become a volunteer. And people move between these different things, and they go away and they come back. One thing that has been really nice lately has been that, because again, in terms of the retreat aspect of the place, mainly it's when people organize a retreat as an event. They use some of the teaching spaces, people stay in the accommodation facilities. That's kind of the retreat part of it. But lately, there have been a few more people just planning just to stay here in the temporary accommodation, not specifically for a retreat. And then they've decided they like it so much that they stay longer. They plan to stay here for a couple of nights, and then they stay here for a week or 2 weeks or even longer, because they're enjoying the environment. They're enjoying the interaction with the different people here, who, you know, again, often that's an unusual mix of people, but there's, you know, good things about that. And also all of the community classes and events that run, they go like, actually, I'll stay here for longer. So it's been nice to be seeing that retreat aspect of the place coming through a bit more lately as well. Okay, I think this is the real end of the vlog now.